Another form of alternative dispute resolution would be mediation, and that's a process where people come together and they say, let's avoid litigation at the onset. Let's hire a third party, and this third party may be a lawyer, or it may be a retired judge, and they basically come in and they meet and they discuss their issues. And this third party can't provide legal advice. What they can do, though, is try to help the people come together, resolve their issues. Now, the thing that I would recommend, though, is that people do have separate legal advice. Some people through mediation will actually bring their attorneys with them. Some people will have their attorneys available via telephone to get legal advice during the process. And so it's really a process where people can come together, avoid litigation at the onset, and see if they can resolve their issues.
To add on that, I think one of the things that's also important to know about the mediation process is that it's confidential. What goes on in the room stays there. Judges don't want to know what happened. And the purpose there is so that people can actually settle cases, so that you can put all of your cards on the table. So that's an important consideration. The other aspect for mediation that is good to know is that a lot of times lawyers can prepare you to go into the mediation if you want to participate in it yourself, and then you know your case. So that's where you need to have a couple of things in mind. One is, what are you looking for? What would you want your divorce decree to look like? And two is, how will you get there? And that is a process that lawyers can actually educate, inform, and advise a client on.
And what I would add to that would be, who do you want to be in control of the decisions in your case? Do you want it to be the person who wears the black robes, who might look at your case for 5 minutes before they walk into a courtroom? Or do you want to keep the control between you and your spouse, where you can sit down, you can discuss what's best for our kids, what's best for the future, how are we going to be able to meet our bills? And a lot of people like the process of mediation because in that process they feel they hold the control. They're not giving up control over the main issues in their case to someone they don't even know. That's why we recommend mediation a lot of times in cases that we deal with. Both Farhan and I are both mediators. We're both trained mediators. So we know that process. We've dealt in that process. And so I think that we like to give our clients, when they walk in, we like to say, here are the various processes. Sometimes you have to look at litigation, unfortunately, because that is a process that if you're dealing, let's say, with a person who doesn't want to be fair, if you're dealing with someone who says, this is what I think is best for our kids, and you say, I don't agree with that, this is what I think is best for our kids. Sometimes you do need that third party to make a decision. And so that's why sometimes people choose litigation.
That's a great point. Another reason why not to engage in mediation, for example, is when there's domestic violence. In fact, the court cannot order mediation in a case where there's domestic violence. So by no means does a process fit everybody. And that's where also you need to engage in a meaningful conversation with your lawyer to figure out which process might fit for you.
Another process that people may have heard of is collaborative law. And what collaborative law is basically where you agree that you're not going to go to court under any circumstance. You sign an agreement, it's called a participation agreement, saying we agree that under no circumstance will we go to court. And so people in that process do have to both hire attorneys, so you both need to have an attorney. The one thing you have to know about collaborative law is if you are unable to reach an agreement in that process, you have to let your attorneys go. You have to say, okay, we're both going to hire now litigation attorneys and potentially proceed down that path. But the good part about collaborative law, and both Farhan and I are members of the Collaborative Law Institute, is that you can say, we are going to meet with our attorneys, we're going to have legal advice, we're going to use other experts as we need, and we're going to again resolve our issues between one another. And under this process we agree that one person can't use litigation as a sword. They can't say, okay, well, you don't want to give me what I want, I'll see you in court. And now I'm going to raise the fees and I'm going to do everything that I can to make this bad for you. Collaborative law is really a process with respect, where you say, we're going to respect one another, we're going to work together, and we're going to stay in this process. So people who use that process are typically motivated to work together.